All right, so you're looking for a dog trainer here in New Mexico, and you want to make sure you find a really good one. You're in the right place. This explainer is all about giving you a clear guide to help you make a great choice for both you and your dog. I mean, just picture it for a second. You're out hiking the trails at the Petroglyph National Monument, or maybe you're just chilling on a brewery patio in Santa Fe, and your dog is right there with you, totally calm and confident. That's the dream, right? And the right training is what gets you there. So, how do we make that happen? Here's our plan. First, we'll talk about why training a dog for life here in New Mexico has its own unique quirks. Then, we're going to break down some of the common training lingo. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to pick a trainer, what to expect for costs, and finally, we'll talk about the payoff, having an amazing canine companion. Okay, let's jump right into our first section, training for New Mexico life. It turns out local knowledge from a trainer can make a huge difference. You know, training a dog here isn't just about sit and stay. A good local trainer gets what it's like. They prepare your dog for real-world situations, like how to navigate trails safely when you might run into coyotes or even rattlesnakes. They'll teach you about handling our hot summer pavement and how to help your dog stay focused when you're at a crowded farmer's market. It's about managing your dog's reactions whether you're in the city or a more rural spot. On to Section 2, decoding training methods. Once you understand a little bit of the language trainers use, it's so much easier to find the right fit for your dog. So let's start with a really big one, positive reinforcement. This is the modern, science-backed way to do things. Basically, you reward your dog for making good choices. But it's about more than just getting them to follow commands. It actually builds a really strong, trusting relationship between you two. And that's the foundation for absolutely everything else. Now, you're gonna see a bunch of letters after some trainers' names, and it can look like alphabet soup, right? Let's just quickly break it down. Credentials like CPDTK or KPA-CTP, they just mean the trainer has actually passed some tough exams on dog behavior and training skills. Seeing those letters is a good sign that they take their profession seriously and use humane, effective methods. It's kind of a reliable shortcut to finding a qualified person. You're usually going to find two main options, in-home training or group classes. In-home is awesome for tackling issues that happen right in your house. You know, like barking like crazy at the doorbell or surfing the counters. Group classes, on the other hand, are perfect for teaching your dog how to focus when other dogs and people are around, all in a safe, managed setting. A lot of people find that doing a little bit of both is the perfect recipe. All right, this is the really actionable part. Section 3, how to choose a pro. Here's a simple guide to finding the perfect trainer for you and your dog. It honestly just comes down to these 3 steps. First, look for those professional certifications we just talked about. Second, set up a consultation. A lot of trainers offer one for free, and it's a great way to see how they interact with your dog. And third, go in prepared to ask some questions. So when you have that chat, here are some of the things you'll want to ask. Definitely confirm they use positive reinforcement and ask how they'll tailor a plan specifically for your dog and your life here in New Mexico. Oh, and that last one is a big one for anyone who hikes around here. Asking about their experience with wildlife encounters is a really smart, practical question. Okay, so that's what you want to see, but what about red flags? What kind of training styles should you absolutely steer clear of? Well, the answer here is pretty simple. You want to avoid any trainer who relies on fear, pain, or intimidation. Any methods that use physical punishment are just plain outdated. They can actually create more problems like anxiety and aggression, and they can really damage the bond you have with your dog. Science has shown us there's a much better, safer, and way more effective way to train. Let's move on to the practical stuff in Section 4, costs and local considerations. We'll talk about what you can expect to budget for a trainer here in our state. This table should give you a pretty solid ballpark of what costs look like for 2025. As you can see, there's a range for everything from group classes to private lessons. Just keep in mind that prices in places like Albuquerque and Santa Fe tend to be on the higher end of these estimates, while they might be a bit lower in some of the smaller towns. It's also just good to have a few local rules on your radar. Leash laws can be different from city to city, so it's always smart to check your local regulations. A rabies vaccination is required across the state. And here's an interesting one. New Mexico doesn't actually require trainers to have a license. That's why those certifications we talked about earlier are even more valuable for finding a true professional. And that brings us to our final section, which is really the best part. Your confident canine companion. This is all about what you get for all your hard work.
Now, if you've recently brought a new dog into your home, this is such a helpful thing to remember. It's called the 3-3-3 rule, and it just helps you set realistic expectations. It reminds us that it takes time for a dog to adjust, 3 days to decompress, 3 weeks to learn your routine, and about 3 months to really start feeling at home. Good training always respects that natural process.
The whole point of training becomes so much clearer when you can picture the end result. Maybe for you, success looks like having a dog who can play nicely and still listen to you at a busy place like North Domingo Baca Dog Park in Albuquerque. Or hey, maybe your goal is much simpler. Maybe it's just being able to enjoy a nice afternoon on a patio with your dog lying down calmly at your feet, not stressed out by everything going on around them. That's what training can give you. And for anyone who loves getting outdoors, this is pretty much the ultimate achievement. Having a dog that comes back to you every single time on the trail, well, that's not just a cool trick. It's a safety tool that gives both of you so much more freedom and peace of mind. In the end, putting the time and effort into good, humane training is about so much more than just fixing a few problem behaviors. It's really an investment in your everyday life together. It means your walks are more enjoyable, having people over is less stressful, and you can confidently go out and share all the incredible things New Mexico has to offer with your best friend right by your side.